All right, let me go ahead and get everyone checked in here. I see that looks like we have maybe the owners here. I see that Thomas Rogers and Kimia Rogers. Yeah, if you could unmute and just confirm that's your name and that you're the owners.
Yep, good morning.
Okay, great. Welcome. Good morning. All right, and I see that we have Shannon Roush here.
Yes.
Morning, Shannon.
Good morning.
All right, and Matt Lashide, zoning plans examiner. Matt, you with us?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everybody.
All right. Welcome. Okay. I just need to run through. Looks like we have one more person trying to enter. I'll let that person in. Sorry, 2 people. Dan, if you could unmute for me. Dan, if you can hear me, we need you to unmute. Okay. We have another Dan. Just bear with me for a second, folks. Dan, can you hear me? If you could just nod your head, or okay, great. Yeah, Dan, we can't hear you at all. You just need to unmute. There's a mute button at the bottom
Right,
left.
I got it. Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can. Yeah, welcome.
Welcome.
Dan, if you could give me your full name and tell me who you're representing here today. And just like that, he's gone.
Uh-oh.
I need to read through our hearing script, which will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing. Is Dan with the applicant or the owner team?
He's
Do we
with
know?
us, he's our contractor.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Looks like he's having a little bit of technical difficulties. Are you guys okay with starting the hearing before he's totally checked in here? Or would you like to wait till we get him sorted out? Dan, you're still muted.
Can you hear me now? I'm having some issues there.
Sure can. Yeah, I understand that happens sometimes. Welcome,
Yes.
Dan.
Thank you. My name's Dan Fry, F-R-E-Y.
All right. And you're the contractor on the project?
Correct.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started. This is the May 24th, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20230061. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. So for our purposes here today, I'll give Ms. Roush, Mr. Frey, the Rogers, really whoever would like to speak about this project. One of you can speak, all of you can speak. It's completely up to you how you want to orient the presentation, but tell me about the project, what exactly it is you're proposing, the relief that you've requested, and why you think I should grant that relief. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to speak after you all had presented that case. I'd then go to Mr. Lashide to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report, then give you all an opportunity to respond to anything that Mr. Lashide has said. I'll have some questions along the way, and then you guys can make any closing statements if you would like. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties, as we've already seen, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly. But to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. If you intend on providing any testimony here today, making any comments, asking any questions, doing anything other than just strictly observing, then the zoning code requires that I swear you in. If you're not certain yet whether you're going to provide any testimony, I can swear you in later. But if you know for sure that you'd like to say something, I'd like to collectively swear all those people in right now. So if you can, everyone can raise their right hand. I need everyone to answer out loud that's going to testify. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right. Shannon, are you taking the lead here?
I'm going to take the lead. We'll start off.
Floor is yours.
I'm Shannon Lowe Roush, the architect for representing the Rogers on this project. just to let you know that this house was built in 1937, so it was well before the zoning code was put into effect. It presently in SF10 zoning district, but presently located 43.5 feet from the front property line. What the Rogers would like to do, they've got a stoop there and a canopy on brackets. What they like to do is actually put a porch, so they're actually going to put columns down. The porch is going to be 6 foot by 11 foot. 6 foot isn't it's extending toward the front of 6 foot, which isn't a great amount for a porch. Not like going out 8 feet or 10 feet. It's not a living space so much as just a covered area, enough for a small chair. When that goes out, the zoning code requires, though, any front additions, any kind of front improvements need to fall within an average of properties 300 feet on each side of the subject property within the same block on the same side of the street. There's some pretty narrow, there's the narrow lots on this. So when we go 300 feet, it puts us well into a bend on both sides of this house. What's the average will come down to 42 feet. So even though we have houses that are closer, much closer than that, because of the bend in the street, we also have some houses that are throwing, there's two in particular, one's at 56 feet and the other one's like 40, well back from that property line that throws that average back and it makes it a hardship for this particular property in this particular neighborhood. So that's kicking us into needing a variance of 4.5 feet to allow this pretty reasonable minimal porch to be put on, or any improvement onto the front of this house. And any improvement on the front of this house would require variance because of this unique situation. Some mitigating circumstances of the porch is only 1 story. It's open, sides are open, it's not enclosed, so airflow is not being impeded. It being 1 story and open, it also won't really doesn't change the the rhythm along the street visually. And it's also something that you see in this neighborhood a lot. You actually see front porches. It's not an unusual request. There's not an unusual thing that's happening. And it also improved the visual and like the usage for this house. So we're asking that you grant the variance based on the fact of the unique location in this neighborhood, the unique situation with other houses that are throwing off the average, which are required. And that's it.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Roush. Did Mr. Rogers or Mr. Frey want to add anything?
I just think aesthetically, the look of this porch fits the neighborhood a lot better than the existing one.
Okay.
Greatly improve the front elevation.
Okay.
I guess I'll just add, I mean, our neighbors directly across the street did something similar. I want to say 5-10 years ago. So I do think the aesthetic appeal fits the street presently. I would also say I know our neighbors who have more recent houses along the street are much closer to the street than the houses along the bend that Shannon was mentioning. Also, yeah, I mean, just to clarify, it is very much an open porch. It's just 2 pillars with two small chairs going under it. It is not meant to be a living space much at all, rather just sit outside.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks. The bend you're talking about, is that the bend to the east, or I see that it sort of bends as you go west as
In
well?
both
Is it
directions. It's been to the
right? But
I
the
believe
bend
we're
that
to the
obscures
west.
the averaging is to the east.
I believe it's the bend to the west,
bend to the west.
where Alpine Terrace meets Paxton at that stop sign.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, we've got a house that's at 59, and it's because it's kind of a wedge shape. So they had to set that house back to even fit it. And then we have one at 56, which is right next door. It's also in the bend, small frontage that pushes it back.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thanks. Anything else from the applicant or owners here? Okay. Mr. Lashad? anything you'd like to add?
Hey, good morning. I would concur with the testimony provided. There's a great variety of setbacks on the street, anywhere from 23 to 59, as Ms. Roush has indicated here. The proposed porch is 6 feet deep, mostly open, would not change the visual appearance of the streetscape. If anything, it might improve it. I think it's a really nice looking design. I would agree. It's pretty open. It's not going to impact neighbors or anyone in any way. Staff is happy to recommend approval. Here if you have any questions.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, I don't have any more questions. Anything in closing or otherwise before we adjourn here today? Shannon?
Nope, I'm pretty
Okay.
good.
Okay, let's leave it at that. I've had a chance to review the application materials and the staff report. I heard from a neighbor late yesterday. I didn't have a chance to add that correspondence to the record, but a neighbor was in support and sent me an email saying as much. And so based on that, based on the testimony I've heard here today, I think it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code of this project. So I'm going to approve it. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. I mentioned at the beginning that typically takes about 2 weeks. Shannon, I know you're familiar with this process, but as soon as I finish that decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today. And so you all have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that, Matt can approve the permitting on his end and you all can hopefully move forward. I think just based on the queue that I have right now, we have had a bit of a higher level of applications as the summer has started. And so I think 2 weeks is a realistic expectation. I'll do everything I can to get that out to you as quickly as possible. But if you all have any questions about that or would like a status update on the decision, feel free to reach out to me directly and I'd be happy to provide an update. Let's see, any questions about any of that? Okay, great. Well, good luck with the project.